My check 1 2, it's the Y2K collector, and more people are realizing the importance of owning physical media. And why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this for a few reasons, and these reasons are pointing to a day and a time where people will come to dislike streaming services as much as they've come to dislike legacy television, legacy cable. And by legacy cable, what I mean is your more traditional cable companies, your AT&T U-verses, your Verizon Fioses, your Charter Communications, Cox, Altice, whatever cable company is in your part of the country. A lot of people have chosen to cut the cord over the last decade or so. They were tired of having to pay equipment fees for set-top boxes and remotes, and they were tired of paying all of these FCC fees that you see on your cable bill. And so a lot of people have cut the cord and decided they no longer want to use legacy television, and they've decided that they want to stream everything. And so most people, all they have is an internet connection. And so they've made this big transition over to streaming services. And now people stream a lot of things. They stream their movies, their TV shows, their music through companies like Spotify and iHeartRadio, iHeartMedia. You've got, YouTube TV. You've got, Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, Hulu, Netflix. You've got all these different companies that have really, taken over. And in a lot of people's minds, they feel like they're paying less, or at least they were feeling like they were paying less for the same shows that they watched. And they were also getting the added convenience of not having to watch things that they don't necessarily care for, or I guess in their minds, pay for things that they don't necessarily care for. And now that same model has started to seep into video games, and it's not anything new. We've seen the, streaming model when it comes to video games for a while now, but it is becoming more and more prevalent as we see gaming companies kind of turn away from physical offerings and move more towards this digital download, digital code, key card, passcode, whatever you want to call it. This is the model that they're choosing to go with. And so we've seen this transition to somewhat of a dependence on companies to get the stuff that we want, right? And I'll never forget, there was one weekend a couple of years ago where I wanted to go back and revisit The Matrix because The Matrix is probably top 3 favorite movies of mine all time. I think for me personally, The Matrix is one of my favorite movies. It might just be my favorite movie of all time, The Matrix. And every once in a while, I watch it. I watch it because as time goes on and as society changes and as technology changes and as paradigms shift, it's like every time I watch this movie and relate it to what's actually happening in society, I watch it. It means something different every time, right? I think when I initially saw The Matrix back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was just blown away by the visuals. I think it was the first time we had ever seen bullet time in a movie. The concepts were brand new. They were original. They were groundbreaking. And this movie became the trendsetter for a lot of action sequences for years to come, even to this day. A lot of the things you see in terms of action sequences came from this movie. But there was a weekend where I really wanted to sit down and watch The Matrix. And I said, you know what? Let me just go ahead and stream it. And so I went to Netflix and tried to see if it was on Netflix, and it wasn't available. I was like, okay, well, let me see if I can watch it on Hulu. Went to Hulu, and it was like $24.99 to stream it. I tried going to other online streaming services to see if I could watch it. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this movie is like, what, 25, 30 years old? Somebody should have it for free, right? Like I should be able to watch it somewhere for free. And I remember that particular weekend, no one had it for free. Everywhere I went, I had to pay at least $17.99 to rent it, or I had to purchase it for $24.99. And I remember thinking, that's crazy. Like, how is it that a movie this old, I have to pay $25 to own it digitally, or pay $14.99 to rent it for 3 days, when I could just go to Goodwill, find it on the shelf for $2, and it actually wasn't $2 because I think they had like 75% off. So this was like 50 cents, where I could go buy the physical version for 50 cents and always have it. Now, anytime I want to watch The Matrix, I can just pull out the DVD and watch it. And I remember that feeling, and I'll never forget that feeling, because that is going to be a feeling that a lot of people have over time. You know, everyone has their favorite TV shows, especially when you start getting older. Like, you know, when you start getting into your 30s, your 20s, your 30s, and you start to think about some of your favorite movies, TV shows, video games, songs, and you want to go back and revisit them, and you realize, you know what, I don't own any of these things. I sold all my Dr. Dre albums. I sold all my Tupac CDs. I got rid of all my, you know, Eminem, you know, cassette tapes. And now if I want to listen to an old school Eminem record, or if I want to listen to an old, you know, EPMD album, or if I want to listen to Kid Rock, now I have to pay to stream it. Or I have to, you know, if I want to just buy it and listen to it whenever I want, now it's going to cost me an additional charge. And I think when you get older, you start to feel that more, because as you get older, you tend to want to go back to the things that you enjoyed when you were younger. On top of that, a lot of what we're seeing, both in all facets of media, whether it's movies, video games, music, a lot of it feels like regurgitated, rehashed, remixed versions of stuff that isn't better than the original, right? And so this is why, you know, and I never understood why my parents always went back to songs from the 80s and the 70s and even the 60s. It's because they had the same feeling. They were watching what we were doing, and what we were doing was pretty much remixing and regurgitating the stuff from the 80s and the 70s, right? I mean, if you think about some of your favorite producers, that's really what they're doing. They're taking stuff from the old days and mixing it in with the new. And so we kind of see the same thing with video games, right? Like, how many times have you played a PlayStation 4 game that was originally released on the PlayStation 2? How many times have you played your Switch 2 and realized you're playing a game that came out on the GameCube or the Nintendo 64, or even the Super Nintendo for that matter, right? We're here in 2025 with these, you know, updated streaming platforms and systems and devices and gadgets, but still we're enjoying entertainment that's 25 to 30 years old. And what's even funnier is that the old stuff is costing just as much, if not more, than the new stuff. Like, when you're paying for your subscription, you know, you now have to pay for this old stuff that you had physically a long time ago. And I think it's for that reason that a lot more people are starting to understand that having and owning physical media is important. Now, does this mean that you go and you start to hoard all physical media? No, I don't think that that's smart. But what I do think is that it's important for you to get a hold of the physical media that is important to you. And a lot of people are starting to see this now. A lot of people are starting to grab hold of the physical media that is important to them, because they don't want to have to worry about paying $24.99 to rent a movie that's 35 years old because it's not being offered for free on a particular weekend on their favorite streaming platform. And that's something that I think a lot of people are realizing. And forgive me, they're doing construction in my area, so if you hear any background noise, please forgive me. But this is something that I really am recognizing and I'm seeing. And ultimately, it all boils down to this. There is a movie that came out on Netflix, and if you haven't seen it, I strongly recommend you go and watch it. It's called Leave It All Behind, I think. And basically, the movie is about a cyber or social media attack that is perpetrated against the United States, where propaganda is spread that creates a certain level of infighting and civil unrest within the country. On top of that, you know, these hackers, they hack into these systems that control ships, you know, airplanes, you know, water systems, dams, things like that, and they basically create havoc through cyber attacks, right? You have these, you know, freight liners, I think they're called, or what? I'm not sure what those those really large cargo ships. You have cargo ships going rogue and basically, you know, drifting off onto beaches. You have planes falling out of the sky. You have like I said, propaganda being spread in cities that create civil unrest, and ultimately the world just starts to go to hell in a handbasket. And in the movie, this family, they wind up on this house in the Hamptons, I believe. And in this house is owned by a wealthy family, and inside this house is a bunker. And the bunker is basically designed to, it's what bunkers do. It's a place of safety. It's where you can go during a time of war, or maybe nuclear plague or something like that. And in the bunker, you've got a certain amount of food supply, water, rations, toiletries, all the things that you would need to survive a major catastrophe. And one of the funniest things that I'll never forget about this movie is that amidst all of the toilet paper, the bottled water, the canned vegetables, everything, inside the bunker, there is a room that has walls and walls of physical media. And I thought that was very interesting. There's walls and walls of DVD players. Not DVD players, but DVDs, Blu-rays. And it's almost like whoever was preparing that bunker knew that there would be a need for entertainment, because there would be no internet, there would be no streaming service, there would be no online network. And so the next best thing, in order to stay entertained and not lose your mind, they ensured that they had enough physical media to keep them entertained. And I thought that was very interesting. And it was almost scary to think, like, what would happen if we were attacked and we lost the internet? You wouldn't be able to stream anything, right? You would not be able to access anything, and you would pretty much be left to all of your physical devices, assuming that there's electricity, right? And even if there isn't electricity, you've got power generators that could give you electricity and still be able to plug in your devices and at least play your games, right? All I need to play my Game Boy is some batteries. All I need to play my Sega Genesis is an electrical current. I don't need the internet. I don't need a network subscription. I don't need a passkey or a passcode. And the same thing with this Matrix DVD. All I need to watch this movie is some electricity, because then I can plug in my DVD player, my TV, and off I go, watching Neo become the one. And so I think this is very interesting, and we're at a very interesting point in media. And I'll ultimately end with this. Many of you may not realize it, but a lot of the major cable companies are starting to merge. They're starting to converge. You've got Cox Communications buying smaller companies. You've got Verizon buying smaller companies. You've got the major companies starting to converge and come together, because they're realizing now that this is a last-ditch effort to maximize on legacy media before everything just completely defaults to streaming. And so they're combining their energies, they're combining their resources to try and provide a better customer experience for those who are still willing to purchase a cable package or cable bundle subscription with internet, for anyone who's still willing to do that. And you're starting to see this, and I think this is marking the final chapter in legacy media. This is the final chapter in old school media as we know it. And I think once this generation of media runs its course, once these big communication companies have no other alternatives, that is when streaming services and companies will become the dominant force. And anyone who enjoys any kind of media, whether it's movies, music, video games, that is when they're going to have to come to the decision of whether or not they want to rent their media or if they want to own their media. And that could be the point in history where physical media truly does become exponentially more expensive. I do not think that that's anything that's going to happen in the next 5 years. I don't know if it's going to happen in the next 10 years. It could take 15 to 20 years. But when that day comes, it will be very interesting to see how the general public responds. I'm interested to know your thoughts on this. Where do you think media is going? Media in general, not just physical media. And how important do you think it will be to own your favorite pieces of media in the future? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one. It's the Y2K Collector. Take it easy.